What's going on, guys? Welcome back to How to Make a Game in Unity for Beginners. My name is Dustin, and last time what we did is we went into our project folder and we created a couple of folders in here just to kind of make things a little bit more organized. Really, we should have done it from the beginning, but I'm just not a very organized person in general, so that just didn't happen. But anyways, we created these folders for us to kind of hold our materials and our scripts and everything. We also created a game manager to kind of store some of our functions that are going to be used in multiple different places, or that could be used in multiple different places. Uh, so today, what I want to do is I want to go back to our enemy because at this point, I feel like our game right now is basically just kind of too easy. There's no challenge to it whatsoever, and we want to be able to add that functionality to make it a little bit more challenging. So what I want to do is, instead of having this pillar just kind of be stationary, I mean, maybe you do want something like this in your game. Maybe you want it to be more of like an enemy that's going to follow around your player. That's what I want to do. Is I want to make it so that whenever I get into a certain range of this enemy, he's going to start following or start moving towards the player to try and kill him, basically. Um, so what the way I want to do that, it's really simple. We just go into our enemy script, and in our update function, what we can do is we can say transform dot position equals vector3 dot move towards. And what move towards is, it will basically move this game object towards a specific um, position in the world. It's asking for a vector3 for your current position, a vector3 for your target position, and then for the third number, it's asking for basically a speed um, to move towards. So what we want to do is our current position is going to be transform dot position, um, where we want to move towards is, so there's an issue with this here, and I'll show you what's going on here in just a second. We want to go towards our player, so we're going to say the GM dot the player, or hang on, what do we call it in the game manager? The player. Oh, so this is set to private. I'm just going to switch this to public so that we can call it easily from our enemy script. And the player dot transform dot position, and the speed that we want to move is, we're going to go ahead and create a new variable for that so we can control it in the inspector. We're going to say public float move speed, just like that, and that's going to be our move speed, just like that. And then we also want to multiply this by time dot delta time. That way it looks the same on basically any device, whether your frames per second are higher or lower. It's going to look the same across all devices, and that's really all we need. So if we go ahead and save both of these scripts, because we made a change in our game manager, and go back into Unity, our enemy should move towards our player. But it's not going to work exactly how we want it to work, and I'll show you why. If I just come over here and, what's going on here? If I just look at it from the side, like this, when we hit play, you'll see that our center point here on our enemy is a little bit higher than our center point on our player. So what's going to happen is, if we go ahead and hit play, our enemy, oh, you know something? It would help if this is not on maximize on play, and if we actually gave our enemy a move speed. So we're going to say, let's just say 2 for right now. So if we look in the scene view and hit play, our enemy is going to move down through the floor, just like that. And that's not what we want. We want it to stay on top of our floor. So the way we fix that is instead of in here just using our player's transform as it is, we're actually going to pull this out and we're going to create a new vector3 to store 3 more variables. And what we want to use is we want to say the GM dot the player dot transform dot position dot x, because we want to move this on our x-axis this way if we need to. And then we're also going to want on the z-axis to go this way if we want to, but not on our y-axis. We want to use our enemy character's constant y-axis for that one. So we say the GM player transform position dot x, and then our transform dot position dot y, and then the GM dot the player dot transform dot position dot z. And that should give us the effect that we're looking for. So if we go ahead and save that, go back into Unity, let it compile for just a moment, and if we come back over here to look at it from the side, you will notice that it no longer drops down into the floor, and it just kind of follows the player around. Perfect, that is exactly what we want. Now, let's say we have like 20 of these enemies in your game. You might not necessarily want all of them to be following your player all at once. So what we're going to do is we are going to create basically a range around this enemy that once the player moves into that range, then the enemy will start following the player, and when the player is outside of that range, it will stop trying to follow it. So the way we do that is we can actually just call all of this code right here inside a if statement. So if, let's see, what do we need? We need if vector 3 dot distance, which is another thing kind of like move towards. It's just going to measure the distance between 2 points. So if our vector 3 dot distance is, first distance is between our transform dot position and the GM dot the player dot transform dot position is less than or equal to, and we're going to create a new variable up here called public float, let's say follow distance. If it's less than or equal to our follow distance. And so if the distance between our transform and the player is less than our follow distance, then we want to take all of this, cut that out, and paste it inside of this if check. And that should be all that we really need. So if we go ahead and save that, go back into Unity, let's go ahead and go on to our enemy character, and down the enemy script, let's set a follow distance of, let's say 3 or 4. No, let's do a solid 5. See what happens when we do 5. So if I go ahead and hit play, so now if we look in our scene view, because we can barely see it in the small game view, you see that our enemy is no longer following us, but once we get into a certain range of it, it will start following us. Perfect. That is exactly what we want. And you can tweak that however much you want. You can increase that distance, you can increase the speed, and just however you want to tailor it to your game. But that's really all that I think we're going to cover today. So be sure to like and subscribe if you have anything to say about the video, if you have any ideas to add into it or have any questions, feel free to comment below. And yeah, I mean, I'll see you next time.